The Georgia Bulldogs are coming off a big win in Jacksonville over the hated Gators, 24-20 on Saturday, and are in the middle of a 5-game run here to end the season. Kirby Smart met with the media today to talk about the upcoming game at Mississippi State this Saturday at noon, a game that I'll have more to say about later. Let's get into it.
An opening statement, and then we'll bring the microphone around.
Yep, another week in the SEC, as we all know. Really good opponent, Mississippi State. Jeff, I know well, and a good guy, and done a great job with their program. The energy, enthusiasm coming out of that programs, you can see it in the way their kids play. They got no quit in them. These guys have competed. They have been in every game they've played. They have upgraded the talent level since he's been there. You look at the group he's put together defensively, offensively, and special teams. They got really good players all over the field. You know, our guys are going to be up for a great challenge this week. You know, we're going to their place, and when you play on the road in the SEC, trust me, I played a lot of years and coached a lot of games at this place. It's a tough place to play. They have great fan base, and Jeff and his staff have done and go with the ball, the decisions he makes in terms of running, throwing, box counts. I mean, he's very experienced at it. Talented player, and he's got great legs. And they've got another quarterback that is a really good player as well.
Okay, so it looks like the edit there for the Georgia website did something a little funky, but we're not going to worry about that. We're going to keep moving forward. Let's just start with where Kirby started, which is the fact that this Mississippi State team, what Jeff LEBBY is building down there, Kirby hit it right on the head when he talked about how much they compete and how the energy is different around that program. That part is absolutely true if you've watched Mississippi State this year. And when they're healthy, they have been good enough to execute at a high enough level to keep them in every game this year. So this game being on the road the week before a big matchup against Texas sets up to be a bit of a trap game for Georgia. It is going to be difficult for Georgia because A, what I just mentioned, the trap game scenario, B, the fact that it's going to be an 11 a.m. local kick, and C, Georgia just had a bunch of injuries on the defensive side of the football. So that leads us into the second half of this clip here, where he's clearly talking about Mississippi State's quarterback, Blake Shapen, who I think is a good football player. They are going to stress Georgia Saturday in a way that maybe they haven't been stressed since they faced Tennessee early in the year. So buckle in, Dogs fans. This one I expect to be fully contentious throughout the game, at least until the fourth quarter and possibly right down to the very end, because Mississippi State is going to put stressors on Georgia's defense, especially if it turns out the Dogs are having to play with lesser experienced players on that defensive side of the football. Mississippi State is good enough to step up and bite the Dogs this Saturday. Make no mistake.
Coach, what have been your impressions on Anthony Evans since leaving here, and also Brennan Thompson, another transfer receiver for him?
Yeah, Anthony's played awesome. It was great. The last 24 hours, I'd seen highlights throughout the year, watching Anthony play really well, just in games and passing and things that overlapped. But then yesterday, you get to sit and watch 4 or 5 games in a row. He's really played well, explosive, fast, vertical threat, quick game threat, blocking well. He's always been a good returner. He's, everything I thought he was. He's a really good football player that has grown, gotten better, and as you grow up and get better, you improve. And he's done that, and he's playing at a really high level. And obviously, Brennan Thompson's a force to be reckoned with. This guy's the fastest guy I've seen on tape probably in multiple years. I can't remember the last time I saw somebody this explosively fast and dynamic as this guy is. So the package of those two guys together is really, really good.
Okay, so a couple things there. First, on Anthony Evans, he was a Bulldog that I just kept waiting to break through here in Athens, and it just never happened for whatever reason. And some of that was on Evans being a young player, and some of it was on the opportunities he had, but it just didn't work out. He moves on, and he's clearly being successful for the Mississippi State Bulldogs. So good luck to him. I hope he continues to play well, just not this week against my Bulldogs, right? So that's Anthony. The other guy, the other wide receiver they talk about there is Brennan, and he Think about what Coach just said right there. This is the most explosive player I've seen on tape in several years. Zachariah Branch is on his own roster. He sees Zach every day, and we talk about how explosive and dynamic Zach Branch can be. Kirby just told you that Brennan is even more of that, which is kind of hard to believe, but you just heard it there. So again, don't think that this is a plodding Mississippi State team that can't hurt Georgia, especially in an area that Georgia has been susceptible all season. Just get ready. I think this one's going to be real tough for Georgia on the road Saturday.
Mississippi State have been close a few times this season, and then finally Saturday they get their first conference win since, I think, October 2023. What can that do for that team as far as confidence going in this game, the fact that they broke through last week getting ready for this one?
Well, number one, it shows hard work pays off. You know, they've continued to work hard. They've stayed true to themselves. I mean, they all they do is watch tape. They've been in every game. They've had several games they should have won. They could have won, but they didn't. And obviously it didn't slow them down because, you know, even Arkansas, every game they've been in, they score tons of points. They're a hard team to beat. So, you know, a lot of respect for the coaching staff and their team. Shows you what kind of like competitive character they got, that they have sustained that in every game, regardless of the outcome of the games.
The competitive character part there is the part that always sticks out to me, because it shows that it doesn't matter. Maybe you know that you don't have the same horses as the team you're playing, but you're willing to show up and give it everything you've got for the duration of the game. And that says a lot about who you are as a player. It says a lot about your team. It says a lot about that coaching staff. And again, LEBBY got this job because he knows how to do things offensively, scheme things up to give his team an advantage. So when you think about the fact that we've already talked about how dangerous they can be outside, you hear Coach talk about the competitive character piece, and we know that LEBBY is an offensive-minded guy that is known for scheming his players open. Believe me, this one's going to be a challenge because Georgia just had that group of injuries happen on the defensive side of the ball against Florida after coming into that game pretty healthy. So it's going to be interesting when we see the availability report this week, who's on it for Georgia and what their status is, because I think that's going to have a lot to do with just how big of a hurdle this is going to be for Georgia. It's already a hurdle. Again, the trap game scenario, the injuries, the type of offense Mississippi State runs. But I feel like that's going to be my theme for this week when I talk about this game, is Mississippi State is good enough to step up and get Georgia here if they don't come out and handle their business the way they're supposed to.
Coach LEBBY's background, obviously, with Josh Heupel, I think they threw for over 300 on you last year. Is the system that similar to Tennessee, or what kind of twist does Coach LEBBY put on that offensive attack?
Yeah, it's the same but different.
Classic Kirby. Yeah, it's the same, but it's not. And he's not lying. He didn't want to get into it and try to explain it clearly, and we'll see if there's a follow-up here. But, I mean, yes, they come from the same branch, but each coach does his own thing, and the way they call the game flows a little bit differently, right? Tennessee is absolutely going to run the football, and then they're going to play off of that in the pass game. Mississippi State is going to run the football too. I don't know if they're as stubborn about it as Tennessee is. They're going to be more quick game than Tennessee might be. Tennessee wants to go down the field when they get that opportunity, and Mississippi State does too, but Mississippi State, to my eye, also seems to be a team that's more than willing to look a little more run and shoot than, say, Tennessee looks, meaning throw it 3 yards, throw it 5 yards, to your wide receivers, as opposed to run the ball, establish the run, and then spread you out and throw it over the top the way Tennessee does. But we'll see if Kirby has anything else to say, but I enjoyed that answer.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Noah Thomas in a little bit. I know we asked about him the other night too, but what have his biggest areas of growth been, both on the field and just acclimating to the Georgia program since he got on campus?
I think early on it was the system in terms of spring practice, but he's grown physically. I think Coley's done a really good job. using his skill set and making sure that he understands development at the next level becomes more than just being a receiver with the ball in your hands, whether that's what you do without it in terms of blocking, what you do in special teams, how you're an asset to your teammates, and he's been incredible at all those things. I mean, he has wanted to start on our special teams units all along, and he really has in punt return until last week. We took him off because of the number of snaps he was having to play. But he's been one of our best leaders in terms of enthusiasm and energy on the field.
There's been so much talk this year from the Georgia fan base. Where is Noah Thomas? Why don't we see him? Put them all on the field at the same time. That's just not the way the Georgia offense works, A. But B, it is so good to hear that he is seeing the bigger picture of what it means to be a complete football player. And I have to believe that that is the reason a lot of these players choose to come to Georgia, especially out of the transfer portal, because they understand, I know I'm a good wide receiver, and I will be a good wide receiver if given the opportunity at the University of Georgia. But there's more out there, and I want to make myself ultimately as draftable as possible, as attractive as possible for a free agent deal at the next level, because all of these players want to go play on Sunday, but you can't just be a good ball catcher and go play on Sunday. There's so much more to it than that. Unless you are the top 0.5%, there's going to be more that you have to do on a roster in the NFL to make a career of it. And I think that seeing the growth in Noah Thomas and knowing that he's out there doing all the other things that you need to do without the football is only going to make him better. I think it's made Georgia better thus far this season. And as the ball comes his way more, the way it did on Saturday against Florida, I think Noah's going to have every opportunity to show us exactly what kind of ball catcher he is. But it's good to hear that he's doing the other things too, right? It's good because not only is it going to make him better, but it's going to let his teammates know that he's not a me guy. He's a team guy, and that he's willing to do all those other things. Like Kirby said there, he's an asset to the team, and then they're just going to love him that much more and be that much happier for him when the success does come in terms of catches and touchdowns and so on.
Kirby, to your left, what have you seen that stands out when taking a look at the Mississippi State defense, a secondary that leads your conference in interceptions?
Yeah, they get after it. You know, they're very disruptive. They confuse you with different packages. They have some different looks they use. They've got some long length. I mean, I hadn't seen this kind of length in a long time at corner and safety in terms of length allows you to tip balls, knock balls down, intercept balls. They are very lengthy and can get balls down and create havoc through what they do. But they've done a really good job this year creating those turnovers. I mean, they're plus in the margin, and anytime you're plus in the margin in our league, that's winning because it's a really competitive league in terms of turnovers.
A lot of that has had to do with how they've stayed in these games early in the year too. They're constantly giving their offense opportunities because they're taking the ball away. And Kirby makes a really good point there about the length and the size of the player and what it allows them to do. That's more you're getting down into the coaching part of it there. But the bottom line is they enjoy making plays on the ball. They enjoy being back there on an island occasionally. And the thing that Georgia's got to look at is, can you get them to have bad eyes? Can you get them on motions or line actions or play actions or things like that, so you can give your receivers an opportunity to get the win out there on the edge? So that's going to be interesting to see as the game goes along. So Georgia's going to have to run the football effectively, and if they can do that, then we'll see just what sort of success they can have against this Mississippi State secondary. One of the things that we have to keep in mind too is that yes, there's skill involved, there's technique involved, but turnovers are also the kind of thing that tend to come in bunches. They feed off of one another, and tips and overthrows, you have to get those. So you can never base things solely on a turnover margin, but it's like Kirby said, if you are positive, then that's a good thing for your team.
Kirby, obviously, Zach Branch has made a big impact. With the transfer group as a whole, I imagine some you thought would be difference makers, maybe some provide depth. How do you determine a hit rate as an organization, when you bring in all these guys?
I don't know that we determine a hit rate. I mean, I look at these as, kids, human beings, student athletes. I mean, I think that our sell to them was come be part of our family and our culture and grow and enjoy in the success that you might have, but enjoy in the success of others. And they've all hit on that. And it's a big part of what I believe to be the culture when you go into the portal is you have to have people that are shaped the right way mentally and strong enough that hopefully they can contribute to your team both on the field and in the locker room.
Now, that's a good answer from Kirby because it offers insight into something that doesn't get asked about a lot. So kudos to Mark there for asking that question. And it's good insight because, yeah, you want these guys to come and help you on the field if they can, but that's not the main pitch that you're making. You're making the pitch of we are Georgia. This is how we do things. Is this something you want to be a part of? Because for the majority, you're better off on the other side of it, right? You have an opportunity to enhance your skills and things like that. So I like that question, and I like the way Kirby answered it.
Coach, I know obviously, Chauncey has been dealing with that calf injury for a few weeks. Is that something y'all still have to be careful with a little bit as far as his usage in games?
No, Chauncey's healthy. I mean, he's done a great job when he's had the opportunity. His number's been called. That injury was significant, whatever game it was. I forget what it was, Auburn maybe, or can't remember when it was. But outside of that, he's been pretty healthy and done everything we've asked and continues to improve.
That's good news. Glad to hear he's healthy. He looked pretty healthy on that 36-yard touchdown run against Florida on Saturday. But I understand where Anthony's coming from, right? Because we had seen a lot of Frazier. We saw Dwight Phillips early in the game. And you're asking the question to make sure you're sure, right? There's nothing wrong, right? But the other side of that is Georgia has 4 or 5 tailbacks that they trust to hand the ball to. So if you have an opportunity and you think that a certain player is going to maybe do something big against a certain defense for whatever reason that you've seen on tape, then you put them in the game and see how it shakes out. And if it doesn't work, great. But, nobody's doubting Chauncey's ability to be RB1 or 1A or however you want to think about it for Georgia this year. So it's good to hear that he's healthy. And they're going to need along with Nate Frazier, Dwight Phillips, Josh McCray, they're going to need all those dudes on the road at Mississippi State on Saturday.
Yeah, Coach, you alluded to KAMARIO Taylor a little bit earlier. Just talk about the young freshman quarterback. I think you guys recruited him a good bit out of high school. What does he provide, and how do you prepare for someone like that, and do you have anybody to maybe simulate that?
No, I mean, we don't have anybody to simulate that. I mean, he's big, talented, athletic. They use a package of him with Blake in the game at the same time, which creates its own issues. And then they use him in situations, and they used him some with, they've had backs out, and they've used him not necessarily as a back, but he is an addition to the run game that throws the ball really well. So he's a very bright talent, and he's a good football player. So I don't know that you can simulate it. You do the best job you can, and you prepare.
Well, I mean, SHAPEN, I'm happy he's healthy. He's a good quarterback. He's a good football player. I'm happy he's having a good season this year at Mississippi State. He is clearly QB1, but as Kirby mentioned there, the other young man is getting an opportunity to play too. So that tells you right there that he offers something that Blake doesn't offer. And I would never want to see somebody get hurt, especially SHAPEN, who's had such tough injury luck at Mississippi State already. If he were to go out of the game, though, I would feel more confident playing against a backup because he's a backup for a reason. But let's assume everyone's healthy. Then clearly that's something Georgia's going to have to watch out for in the run game specifically, but also in that kind of the way Ole Miss used both quarterbacks in the game in Athens, where you bring them in, put them in motion, and do some tricky things with it, snap it to different people, that kind of stuff. There's no telling what you're going to see against Mississippi State. So they're going to have to do all the work this week to get ready for it, and just stick to your keys, have good eyes, and follow your rules, and you should be okay.
Yeah, Josh Brooks put out a long statement on Friday, putting down any notion that he might be interested in the LSU job. How important has he been to the Georgia football program as this program's athletic director?
Well, look, Josh does an incredible job for us as a football program, but his benefit goes way beyond football. He's an athletic administrator that cares about this place. He wants to be great in all athletics. He cares about all the sports. It's not just football. I mean, yeah, every AD wants football to be successful because that funds your athletic department, and he makes no qualms about that. You know, we need to be successful in the major revenue sports, but his job is to support every athletic endeavor we have here at UGA, and he does that every year. He has an incredible staff. Doris, I saw today, and the people that he has on his staff have done a tremendous job. And I think Josh knows that the support you get here from administration, team effort, it's a team concept that he wants to be part of that. And I'm glad he does.
And I think that bit there at the end, first off, kudos to Josh Brooks. He's done a good job as the AD at the University of Georgia. So let's get that, off the table. And it's no surprise that there was rumor that people might be reaching out to him or whatever from LSU or anywhere else for that matter, because he does a good job and he's good at his job. So it is good though to hear Kirby say that bit there at the end about Josh knows where he's at. He knows the situation is what it is, and he's part of helping build it that way. And he's had a vision with Kirby since before the national championships where, what do we need? Let's make that happen, and then you go be successful. And that marriage has proven to be a very profitable one for the University of Georgia so far, and it will be moving forward. I mean, I don't enjoy talking about money and contracts and all that stuff. I really don't like to talk about it because, it is just what it is. But the fact that Josh makes sure that his coaches across the spectrum are well compensated and feel good and happy and supported at the University of Georgia, that's a good thing for my money, because it would be hard to imagine that, let's use Kirby as the example, someone was going to come and throw a Brinks truck at him and get him to go anywhere, given his ties to the university. Kirby will be at Georgia as long as he chooses to be at Georgia, because I don't have any fear that Kirby will ever settle for mediocrity. So if he understands that he can't do it anymore, then he will move away. I today am very confident in that he can make his own judgment. That's if burnout or something like that doesn't get him first. But it's not like we have to fear someone's going to come and poach Kirby from Georgia. And even if they came, an AD like Josh Brooks, who, leaning back on what Kirby just said there, understands the value of having a guy like Kirby at Georgia, given his history and ties to the university, that's just an amplifier, right? So Josh wouldn't let that happen. He would match any and every offer. If anything like that were to happen, he would go to the state and the board and do all the things, but everybody would look at the AD and say, did you make it happen? And I think Josh would. So again, I'm happy Josh is the AD at Georgia. He understands that baseball needs to be improved, needs to be competitive, needs to be, as big as it can be. Basketball the same way. And certainly football needs to maintain its status in the elite tier of college football teams across the country. Georgia's in good hands as far as the athletic director role is concerned.
Coach, what was your thoughts of Zion Branch coming in the second half after KJ was ejected? What will be his role going forward? Having an opportunity to play a little bit on Saturday.
Well, I don't know. I think it depends on this week of practice and every week of practice, right? KJ right now is our starter. KJ's a good football player, and we're trying to get better play as a whole out of our entire team. And that starts with front, linebacker, secondary, receivers, O-line, all of them. So we're going to go out to practice today and try to continue to get better. I was very pleased with Zion stepping up. We put a lot of pressure on him every day in practice to go out there and execute. He doesn't take the same number of reps as KJ, but he takes a lot of reps. And so there's days that he goes out there and works really hard, and all that hard work he put in paid off to allow him to go out there and play and help us be successful.
So my follow-up question there would be, and Kirby talked about it in terms of KJ's 1, Zion's 2, and that's fine. I am curious though, does that mean that Zion hasn't beaten out Kyron or Ja'Cory over at the other safety position, or they just don't use the safeties that way? Like, it's not even a possibility that they would move him alongside KJ? I'm just curious. I don't know the answer to that question, but it should have been a follow-up question in my opinion, because maybe that's the case. Maybe he's just this is the safety he plays, right? We have these other guys that play this other safety spot. Could be the case, but I would want to know. But it is good to hear him talk about Zion. It's good to hear that he liked the way Zion came in and played. It was good for the other Branch brother to get some action at Georgia, because he's out there working just as hard as Zachariah is, and it's good to see that he was able to step up and perform for Georgia on Saturday in a big game when his number was called. And Zachariah was asked about that after the Florida game, and he had some words on it too. But essentially, he just said, man, I was happy for him. I was happy to see him do well because I know how hard he works.
Coach, obviously with Jordan, now the guys will step up. I did want to ask you about NNAMDI OGBOKO, though. I hope I'm not killing his name too bad there. But how did he look the other day for you, and just how good could this young man be?
NNAMDI did a good job. I mean, he plays. He's going to probably play a little bit more of a role now. He continues to get better. I spend a lot of time with NNAMDI down on the scout D when I run the scout defense, and he is a guy that is similar to Christian was his sophomore year. Christian Miller went down there with us. Jordan went down there with us. We've had a laundry list of guys who've gone down there and what we say go against the best of our O-line, and a lot of times their growth explodes. They get better faster than the guys that maybe aren't doing that, and I've seen that with NNAMDI. He's gotten better and better and better at striking blocks. Big emphasis for him from a conditioning level standpoint. He takes a lot of pride in getting that right, so he can be on the field for more snaps. But he was a big boost the other night because he's very good at block recognition. He understands leverage, and he strikes and gets off blocks.
Man, that's exciting. From an old defensive lineman, it's exciting to hear that A, he's down there getting those reps on that scout team against the ones on the offensive line, the better set of offensive linemen, and that B, he understands the importance of his conditioning, and recognition of blocks is a big deal. And then, of course, you can let your hands and your violence take over, but you got to know where to go, what's happening around you before you know how to play it. So all that's great to hear. But the thing that I really like, though, was how he said he went down and played with the scouts a lot, and that Kirby's watching him closely and helping him along the way, right? Because believe me when I tell you, when you're on a scout team and you go down and face those older players, those more experienced players, the ones, the better players, however you want to think about it, you had better strap on your helmet tight because they are coming to get you. They often, and I mean no disrespect or no angst here, but the ones, when they're down there working against the scout team, they look at the scout team as cannon fodder. You were just out there to be something I got to destroy, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do because I'm a big bad starter at the University of Georgia. That's what they should do. But if you're a player like OGBOKO, if you're a player like Jordan Davis back in the day, if you're a player like Christian Miller back in the day, and you're down there taking those dudes on every day, you understand, or you learn in a hurry what it takes to protect yourself when you're playing against those people. And then once you understand how to protect yourself, you're like, all right, let's see how good I can make you. And that's where the iron sharpens iron thing comes in, because I'm a good player. I'm on scholarship at the University of Georgia, and I'm about to show this guy that I'm a good player. And then you get after it. That's what practice is. Man, I love to hear that. I love to hear that. Because if he can go down there, continue to improve, and again, do all those other things, block recognition, striking, violence, all those things, OGBOKO is going to turn out to be a quality football player for the University of Georgia sooner rather than later. And man, that gets me fired up.
Yeah, Kirby, with the amount of close games y'all have played, especially since the start of SEC play, do you feel the comfort level of this team growing in close games as y'all play more of them, or do you feel like those are situations this team has kind of taken to ever since the beginning of the season?
I don't ever feel uncomfortable in a game based on the score. I'm uncomfortable in how we play sometimes, but it's not about the fourth quarter, the first quarter, the halftime. It's not about the score, because we really don't make it about that. You know, if you want to dominate someone, you don't look and check and see what the score is halfway through. The objective is to dominate them, and there's no scoreboard when you start talking about dominating somebody. You look at it at the end of the day and see if you did, and we haven't done that very often. in terms of dominating the way we want to, but we'll continue to try to.
Yes. Yes, Kirby Smart. That's the truth. Because if you shift your focus from we're not going to let them rush for 100 yards, or we're not going to do this or that, and we're going to try to win this football game, what's the score in the third quarter? You take all that out of your mind and you get the singular focus that my job is to whip your ass all day, then that becomes what you are passionate about. You become obsessed about it. And every time you don't do that, it gears you up to go try the next snap, right? Do it again the next play. The way you win, the way you dominate, the way you look like Georgia looks historically is that you do that once and then you do it again and again and again. And you're going to lose one along the way. And then you come right back and do it again and be like, oh yeah. And at the end of the day, you stack more days than your opponent, or you stack more reps than your opponent, where you win. And then the defense as a whole has looked great, right? You've kept the score down. You've stopped the run. You've gotten after the passer, all the things. And then Georgia ends up winning. So I love that philosophy. That's the essence of what Kirby wants from his teams all the time.
Coach, I got a feeling I know where you're going to go with this, but on the schedule, you look at a game like this, and everybody built up Texas preseason. Everybody says, oh, trap game on the road. I want to ask about getting ready for a noon game and also cowbells. I mean, you've obviously been there a lot. Will there be cowbell noise, and is there something drastically different about getting ready for a noon game on the road versus maybe a 3:30 or a night game?
Yeah, noise is noise. It's hard to play in the SEC on the road. I have not been to an SEC venue that it was not hard to play to on the road, play into on the road. It's just hard. That's not going to change with them. They've got a really vertical stadium. I think the noise gets trapped in their stadium. It's one of the loudest places that I've coached, and I've coached there a lot. And they got a lot of pride in how they play and how their team plays and the support of their team. So, I mean, as far as the early kickoff, that's more unique to me than the stadium. We go to the road games, it's road games, and it's hard. The uniqueness is a change in time, time zone a little bit, because you're changing time zones, and then what time the kick is. But unless they don't have to show up until earlier or later, this is the same for both, and it's how you manage it. So we approach it differently and take a lot of ideas from other people and the best way to manage it. But sometimes make a bigger deal out of it than it is. Just got to go play.
Now he didn't speak directly to the whole trap game angle there that was asked about. He addressed the other two parts of it, right? The noise and the fact that it's a noon kick. But he didn't address, well, Texas is a trap game. This creates a trap game. Not directly. But point is, it's going to be challenging for all the reasons that I mentioned off the top that he mentioned right there. I mean, Mississippi State is a good football team that can absolutely step up and bite Georgia. This game is at 11 o'clock Central or local. Let me say it that way. 11 o'clock local, which is an early kick. Don't care who you are. And Georgia's going to have to show up, grab a donut, and get out there and get to work. That's how this thing's got to go. And the fact that Texas is the next week, I talk about it. I, at this point, am not concerned about it. Georgia under Kirby Smart has not been a team that has looked ahead traditionally. It has not been a sleepwalk kind of team. I mean, it happens. It happened with Brock Bowers on the team. It happened with Stetson Bennett on the team. It happens, but it's not something that I think is pervasive under Kirby Smart at Georgia. Certainly not the way it was prior to his arrival. So I'm not so concerned about the look ahead factor. But the fact that you're on the road, the fact that it's an early kick, the fact that this team can get you and you do not have the luxury of falling behind, 2 scores, 2 touchdowns, something like that, because it's going to be hard to catch up against them. I think those are bigger issues, and this will present a challenge for Georgia. But with all that said, Georgia's early kick this year, you could argue the one game they had that kicked off at noon, you could absolutely argue that was their best performance of the season. So maybe that's exactly what Georgia needs. Maybe I'm off base, and maybe Georgia just shows up out there in StarkVEGAS, and they come off the bell firing, and this thing's not nearly as close as I'm afraid it could be. But that would honestly be a very pleasant surprise if it went that way. We'll see.
Coach over here. I think this is year number 52 for Charles Winslett, who I know is, big proponent of Georgia high school football, as are you. Just what has he meant to the state, and just what has he meant to you as a person?
Yeah, Charles Winslett's a great man. He is. I don't think there's a coach in the state of Georgia that doesn't have a story about Charles Winslett or a classic story. He's a very, very interesting man. So he has done it for a long time. He's done it successfully at a lot of places. He's very bright. He's a Georgia grad, played baseball here, and he was a good friend of my father, who everybody knows passed away. And I always appreciated their relationship as a young kid in South Georgia. Winslett was coaching there, and they used to trade film and trade stories. So for me, I go way back with Winslett.
Cool little insight there into a coach here in the state of Georgia that Kirby's real familiar with. I think that's pretty neat.
Kirby, you guys are 7-1 with making stops at games, with games in the balance, but lacking enforcing turnovers and getting sacks. What do you make of that for your defense, that it's not necessarily holding you back?
We've been that way before. We have never been a sack machine. If you look at it statistically, we've never been a turnover machine. We have been better defensively than we are right now, but a lot of that has to do with the culture of the league, what we're playing in, the parity. I'll take the strengths we have, work with them, try to work on the weaknesses, and worry about the process and not the results. That's what we're worried about right now.
I love it. That sounds like such a boring answer, but it is so true. Everything he said right there is verifiable. You can go look historically. I'm old enough to remember year after year where Georgia fans are like, man, we can't seem to get to the passer. Man, we, giving up too many yards, and man, why can't we get a turnover? Especially, even those great championship teams were not teams that forced tons of turnovers. And that was one of the points of emphasis, right? All that said, it doesn't take away from the fact that Georgia wants to and needs to force more turnovers. They need to get more sacks. All those things are true. Absolutely true. Doesn't mean that you can't be a defense that's capable of winning games along the way and potentially winning a conference title. It's just, that's the weird puzzle that is each and every football season and each and every football team, right? It's maddening at times, and it's also beautiful, because once you understand and just, give yourself over to the idea that, it doesn't look like we're dominant anywhere, but man, they just keep winning. Which do you want? Would you rather lead the country in turnovers plus 20 and go 6-5 or 6-6 or whatever? Or would you, be somewhere down there where Georgia is in those statistical categories and be sitting at 7-1 with the opportunity to still go be a champion in front of you? Everybody can choose for themselves. Are you a stat guy? Are you a metrics guy? Or are you a results guy or gal? And, we get to choose.
We'll have a chance to talk to Joseph in a little bit. What have been your impressions of his play this year, and especially going back to how he came back from injury last year and just what he's been able to do in his second year?
Yeah, he's really been beat up this year. He's been dealing with several injuries this year, and I think he's pushed through really hard. I'm excited that he gets to speak with you guys because he's such a high-character, high-carrying individual who has such a great story. His mom is one of the sweetest, nicest ladies I've ever met, who basically has brought her children to this country and raised her children here, and she has worked her way to success, and now he's working his way to success, and he's one of the toughest kids we got. He pushes through injuries. I thought he had one of the big plays in the game the other night. He was a main part of the 4th-and-1 stop in terms of his effort and his get off, and we need him to keep improving. He has, we're not used to having to lean on true sophomores, but he's a guy that has some natural pass rush ability and natural ability that we need to capitalize on.
Oh, that's really cool to hear about JJA. And it's also interesting to hear and understand we are 8 games into the season plus a couple of bye weeks, right? I mean, everybody's got stuff that hurts at this point in the season. Fact, every team. But we hadn't heard a lot about JJA being beat up this year, about having a nagging injury, this, that, or the other thing. We just seen him out there practicing and playing, and you're like, why isn't he making more of an impact? Maybe that had something to do with it. But maybe he's just making impacts in ways that aren't necessarily flashing, that aren't necessarily ending up in the stat box, right? I mean, you heard Kirby said right there, how huge was the 4th and 1 stop? That doesn't happen unless everybody does their job. And he pointed JJA out specifically, saying he did a really good job on that play. And thus, we were able to get that stop. So going back to what I just said, would you rather have him already be sitting here with 6 sacks or whatever it was if he racked up 4 of them against Austin Peay and Marshall? Or would you rather him just keep fighting every down, every play, and doing all the things that he needs to do for Georgia to be successful as a team? I understand it's not a black or white choice. It's not one or the other all the time, but I'm just trying to offer a little perspective here. The young man seems to be improving, and you want good things to happen to good people. And it's, for all the world, looks like JJA is a good dude. So I'm hoping for success for him, because I know that that will lead directly to success for the University of Georgia.
Yeah, we saw Landon ROLDAN get in for you guys, a wide receiver. How is he developing, and how might he be able to help you guys this week?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, all those young wideouts continue to grow. I thought he and C.J. Wiley both had really good off-week practices in build-up to Florida. Talon's, coming back from his injury, getting better and running now. Tyler Williams is doing a great job. All those guys, Blackshear. I mean, when you look across the board, that's a good class that they continue to work. I'm excited today to get to see those guys continue to work, and I'm trying to challenge them that, next man up. Somebody's got to be ready, and you don't get ready when the injury happens. You get ready while you're prepping for it, and they've done a good job doing that.
Oh, that's outstanding. I love to always get those little nuggets there in the end. Hey, we heard Talon's coming back. We heard Blackshear's back and working. We heard that C.J. Wiley's practicing well. These guys will get their opportunity. Who would have bet going into the Alabama game that there was going to be a play drawn up for Talon Taylor? Didn't work out for the young man that night, but who would have put your money on that he would have gotten that ball? Not Colby Young, not Noah Thomas, right? Not Dylan Bell, but Talon Taylor. If C.J. Wiley and Landon ROLDAN are out there making plays like this and getting on the field, then you have to wonder, when are we going to see them pop up? We saw a deep ball go towards ROLDAN on Saturday, but it was overthrown. And maybe there was a little interference there, but, I don't ever want to be accused of playing Monday referee, but just saying, these young guys are working hard. They're showing up, and we might be surprised which one of them shows up in a big moment for the University of Georgia moving forward. Maybe even this Saturday in StarkVEGAS as our Georgia Bulldogs go to play Mississippi State on the road, 12 noon kickoff Eastern time. I'm looking forward to it. I know you are too. Stick around. Watch one of these videos around you here, because it's just good stuff here on the channel. Until next time, go Dogs.
So how about them fucking dogs? That's what I told them.